Hello and welcome to Boomer Live, and we are going to be here back again talking about the T20 World Cup. It's been a lot of things been happening in the T20 World Cup over the last 2 to 3 days. You saw some teams getting knocked out, who surprised many. For example, Namibia was a team which we all expected to go a long way, and they are knocked out of the tournament now. And for Sri Lanka, they make it to the tournament's top Super 12, and they've qualified being number one in the group. So that's a good sign. And Netherlands is another team who have qualified. They make it to Team India's group. So tomorrow is going to be a decider where West Indies take on Ireland and Zimbabwe take on Scotland to decide who's going to make it to the Super 12 from that group. So it's been an exciting group stage for the World Cup. People will say, one team has surprised another and they go on to lose. It's been that, right? It's been Robin Hood kind of a story: steal from the rich and give it to the poor, and the poor itself stealing from the rich and giving it to the poor. Ireland, for example, the biggest thing is Scotland defeated West Indies, but they lost to Ireland. Namibia defeated Sri Lanka, but they lost to both Netherlands and UAE. And UAE made history by winning their first ever game in the T20 World Cup. UAE will be kicking themselves at this point. If they would have gotten that win against Netherlands, now they would have been in a better position to qualify into the Super 12s as well. So it's been that kind of a World Cup, interesting pitches as well, which we'll be talking ahead in the live. I've got Sandeep and Jaren joining me. Welcome both of you, gentlemen. I'll get to Jaren first up. Jaren, what do you make of these qualifiers? Because very odd qualifiers, as one would say. No prediction is going right. Of course, we predicted Sri Lanka will make it to the next round, but not like what we did, because Namibia was another team who we all expect to make it to the next round.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a lot to do with the pitches that have been presented. The drop in pitches that we have seen in, Geelong and as well as Belarus has been odd, I would say, to the best because it's been absolutely ballers' paradises. And in grounds like Australia, where the pitches are anyway, the grounds are anyway big, it is not as easy to hit the ball out of the ground. And when the pitches get even more difficult, I was seeing some of the highlights and how the ball was nipping around, and then it was Klassen who was bowling to Pathum Nisanka, and he was nipping the ball around, and then suddenly Bastille comes in, balls are off cutter, and it turns still 20 degrees. And I don't think I've seen any pitch anywhere in the world which has done this. So I think it's the pitches that have really troubled the teams, and also what I've come to realize is at least in these kind of pitches, hitting those big shots is not very easy. We saw what happened to David Wiese today. It was a in the slot delivery, and the way David Wiese was batting, it should have gone out of the park, and he hit it a long way out as well. But because the grounds are so big, and Junaid, I think was or Zahoor was bowling. Either of them did not have enough pace for the ball to travel a lot further, and the ball he just hauled out. And I think twos are going to be very important. These pitches, twos and boundaries are going to be very important. That's where somewhere I felt where West Indies and Sri Lanka missed the trick. They thought they could, bully these minnow nations, and they kind of fell short. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not still impressed with Sri Lanka, because even against in the match against Netherlands that they played, and the Netherlands match that they played, they were very close of to collapsing again, but they were just a bit lucky that the ball fell short of a lot of fielders. There was a chance for Van der Merwe. Pringle almost got a catch. All of these chances just about landing in front of the fielders. So if those catches were taken, the game would have been game would have turned on its head. Luckily, though, for Sri Lanka, it was a lucky escape, I would say. Overall, it's been an odd sort of group stage.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a very odd group stage, as I already mentioned. A lot of surprising results is the factor, and it also has to do a lot with the pitches, as Jaren mentioned, because batters and bowlers are equally involved in the game, unlike any other T20 format games what we see around the world, where batters dominate or toss kind of determine the result of the game. Here, whichever team has won the toss is not really going on to win the match. So it's just been the opposite of what we are expecting and what we have been used to seeing in the T20 World Cups over the last 1 year or so. Sandeep, we did speak about it. Namibia was a team who could really make it to the Super 12s and also give some big teams a run for the money. What really happened to them? You know that they've had issues in their batting strike rate, but then David Visa yet again, but their big batters not really step up, isn't it? With the likes of JJ Smith, Jan Freiling, he had one good innings, but he went on to fail in the other one. Gerard Erasmus couldn't really get going throughout this T20 World Cup as well. What really was the reason for their downfall in this T20 World Cup?
Yeah, I think it was a mixture of all the things. The Namibian top order, actually, they are not expected to sort of take the game deep and score too many runs, because over the past year we have seen the trend that the majority of the Namibian players, the all rounders, take the onus of scoring it big. Be it Freilink or JJ Smith or David Wiese, they do the bulk of the scoring towards the back end of the game. But they lost too many wickets early, and at 64 or 65 for 7, they didn't really have any chance. But then David Wiese played that the knock which David Wiese is expected to play, was expected to play right from the start. He did not have two good games with the bat. Certainly he bounced back in this one. Yeah, very unlucky that they did not go on to win it, because that half volley, the way Wiese was batting, especially the six that he hit off Muhammad Wasim in the last over that he bowled. It was a spectacular hit. So you expected that half volley from Muhammad Wasim to be punished, but it was just his day. And half century with the bat. He has been pretty consistent with the bat. Even in the first game against Netherlands, he got half century or close to half century in the 40s. So Mohammad Wasim, it has been a good tournament for him. It has been a good year for him with the bat. He has been UAE's leading run scorer. So yeah, all in all, very unfortunate for Namibia to come so close and not make it. They had defeated the giant biggest team of that group, and it was a tournament of two halves. So first half they were doing everything that was expected of them, but then again, did in the second half of the last two games really did not go their way. But they are a new side, and yeah, it's a learning curve. They'll probably get out of it eventually. Happy for Netherlands, because the way they defeated Sri Lanka, like they came close to defeating Sri Lanka, because they made a match out of it. First of all, I was very impressed. Yeah, the pitches were really assisting the pacers, but Klaasen and I think his name is Mikkeren.
Yep.
Van Mikkeren and Klaasen bowled really well up front. They really did not give anything away. Even the spinners came in, Pringle and Van der Merwe. They did a fabulous job to restrict Sri Lanka in the first half. They were only 60 for two at the end of 10 overs. But then again, Kushal Mendes showed his class, took his team to 160, a total of respectability, a total, one might say, 5-10 runs above par on that track. So they took the team over there, and I think today it was a better pitch than the last few days we have had. So 160 was looking close to par. So they were in the match in the halfway stage. They started off well. Netherlands really did not get going at any point of the game. Vikram Singh, another day, another dismissal to the spinner. It has been now 3 games in a row. His weakness for the spinners. And Max Sodaud is a player that I was very I had very high hopes on him right at the start of the tournament itself, and he sort of delivered. I feel in the middle stages, when Tom Cooper and Scott Edwards came in, they hogged the strike too much.
Yep.
He was Max O'Dowd was the settled batter. He should have had more balls to face in that middle period.
I mean,
At the
ultimately,
end,
whatever said, I think we should be focusing a lot more on Namibia, because Netherlands and Sri Lanka, they'll be happy. Netherlands were the happiest at the end of the day from the result of what UAE did. I think more
Yeah,
than
I mean, there
UAE,
are
Netherlands were the happy.
lot of Netherlands fans out there. And you could hear the section of the ground
Yeah.
echoing from the Netherlands side.
Absolutely, and for them, it's a big up. I know for them, their first big goal of the World Cup has been qualify into the Super 12s, and they did it. And for them, they'll be very happy, regardless of the result today against Sri Lanka. And you
unfortunately,
expected
Netherlands
this,
will not have England in their group right now in the Super 12. So if they want to face their bunny in
yeah.
T20 World Cups, they'll have to go through to the semifinals and eventually play them.
I mean, yeah, of course, but let's talk about Sri Lanka as well. We did speak about Sri Lanka earlier on as whether can they qualify, because this game was under the loom of threat of rain, because rain was predicted and it did not rain at all. It was bright and sunny out there, and we got a full game of cricket. For Sri Lankan fans, they were worried before this game, but then they came out on top. They were very confident with their skill sets, as you mentioned. They're still not convincing they're still very rusty in a lot of departments, especially when it comes to their
Five
batting.
wickets from the spinners. I think Jerin pretty much summed it up right at the start, like in the preview of the World Cup itself, that Netherlands and Namibia are going to struggle against the Sri Lankan spinners. Namibia managed to play them out, but Netherlands did not, because they had the scoreboard pressure on them. So 2 wickets for Thikshana and 3 wickets for Hasaranga really sealed the job in the middle overs itself.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you expected a team like Netherlands to struggle against quality of Thikshan and Hasaranga. But Jared, now coming to you, because we can talk about Sri Lanka in a better way now. Now they're going to the Super 12s. They're going to a very strong group, right? They're going to a group of New Zealand, England, and Australia. And also Afghanistan, but these three teams are the toughest to beat, and especially in these conditions, Sri Lanka are going to have a very tough time. We know that they had a very good time in the Asia Cup after losing the first game; they were on a roll, but this is a different ball game altogether. To go on to defeat even any one of them is a big task, right, in this World Cup.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say that Sri Lanka is a lot more comfortable being in this group rather than the other group, because the reason I say it is because as I said, in the start of the tournament, that the spinners are going to be the biggest threats for for any opposition team. If those two spinners, Mahesh Deekshana and Vanidhu Hasaranga, if they perform and they do well, I think that is when the teams would struggle. And I think they would be much happier to, escape India, Pakistan, and even Bangladesh to an extent, because those three teams would be very comfortable playing against spinners. And especially India and Pakistan, I think even more because, Vanidhu Hasaranga and also Mahesh Deekshana, their threat will be nullified a lot more, because his drop in pitches, they've been turning still a lot. And today we saw that turn come into picture. Even Mahesh Deekshana, who's not the biggest turner of the ball, is still turning the ball quite a bit for someone of his liking. But against, I think, England and Australia, I'm not saying it's a big, huge advantage, but at least, they'll be a lot more comfortable knowing that these teams can be troubled by Mahesh Deekshana and Vanidhu Hasaranga. And I think Afghanistan also being in that team, they would rather take this team up rather than the other. They would rather take this group rather than the other group. I know a lot of teams were saying that a lot of experts were saying that Sri Lanka would prefer to be the other group, but because especially India, for instance, is going to be a lot more difficult to beat in Australia than in UAE. It sounds a bit odd when you say that, because India is an
Yeah.
Asian team, but India
But you
loves
know
to play
what?
in Australia a lot.
Also Ashwin also came
And
out saying that India's second home is right now Australia compared to any other
yeah,
Asian
I mean,
country.
absolutely. India's been doing exceptionally well. I think Australia has been finding it difficult to beat India in Australia.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's just
I
been
mean,
like
if
kind of a.
if you give India one chance to play cricket anywhere in the world except India, they'll choose Australia
Yeah, I
nine
mean,
out
to
of
be
ten
very
times.
honest, there are times when they would choose Australia over India as well, because
Yeah,
we've
yeah,
seen this sort
absolutely.
of transition in Indian batsmen where they've been much more comfortable with short ball. We had spoken about it as well. We had a
Even their
graph where we had.
ballers come into the
Yeah,
play
and the
much
fast
better in
bowlers are coming
Australia.
in. Also, you realize it in slow, sluggish pitches, because there are a lot of batsmen that love to have the ball come onto the bat. Rohit Sharma is a very good example.
Yeah,
Rishabh
yeah.
Pant, who's not in the starting 11, but still he's someone who's a very good
Mhm.
example. Virat Kohli as well struggles a little bit again in sluggish pitches nowadays. Although he is overcoming that, and you're seeing the resurgence of Kohli. But these batsmen love to play in pitches where the ball
Australia.
come onto the bat, and Australia is a perfect place, because especially even though you can say England is somewhere there, but Australia is one place where you can just trust the bounce once you get used to that steep bounce in pace. So Australia is a place where India loves to play. So Sri Lanka would prefer that they don't at least come against India or Pakistan even, because even again, I don't think Pakistan will have any trouble facing spinners at least in Australia. And
And
that's not
also the
even the
fact
major
that
threat. So,
most of the Sri Lankan pacers are injured. The frontline pacers are
yeah,
injured, and,
correct.
and Sri Lanka
Chamira
has
is
been hit
gone.
by injuries all around. I mean, Pathum
I was
Nissanka too went for a scan tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. But I was impressed a bit with the new baller. I think it was Bindru. What was his name?
Binura,
Binura
Binura,
Fernando,
Binura,
yeah.
Binura.
Yeah, he balled some very good lengths. He was able to do the right. He was able to ball, pretty well. I think for someone who's playing his first ever World Cup. But decent job from him. Obviously, a long way to go. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be difficult
He
for Sri
has
Lanka,
been
but they'll
in and
be
out of
much
the Sri
happier.
Lankan side for quite some time now. I don't know whether it was T20s or not, but definitely in the shorter form, like even in ODIs, I have heard of Binura Fernando. He has been around for 1 or 2 years now, but he has not been getting those consistent
Yeah,
opportunities
I
because
think
the
the kind
pool of
of
talent is huge in Sri Lanka as well.
yeah, fair enough. But and with these grounds and the length of the ground, I think what we've also seen throughout this group stage, that is also obviously because of the quality of batsmen on show. But slow balls have been really effective, and we've seen
Hmm.
UAE use it so well. Even against
Yeah.
Netherlands, they were using those cutters, and their
I
spinners
mean,
really
that's
came
where
together.
I believe a lot of ballers who've got variation in their kitty will come in handy. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah,
say Harshal
absolutely.
Patel is a
Yeah,
baller
but
with
I
one
mean,
dimension. I think
it's going to be interesting to
still
see how it's going to work out in pitches which are, not drop in. Because India, for instance, is not going to play a lot of matches in drop in pitches. They're going to be playing matches in Gabba and Melbourne,
Melbourne
Gabba
is a
and
drop
Perth.
in pitch, but yeah,
I mean,
but
we don't know how Melbourne pitches yet to react, but these
yeah.
pitches at least they're not going to be playing. So we have to see how much that's going to help. But I think what is good to see is, at least for Sri Lanka's perspective, is they were able to get through this hurdle. It would have been a national shame of sorts if they won the Asia Cup and then they came here and they lost. But
Mm,
it's going to be a very difficult road ahead for them.
yeah, absolutely. The road ahead is
Yeah, because it
tough,
was
and we'll get to that.
completely unconvincing. The only game that they won convincingly was against UAE. That too, their batting was not up to the mark. I mean, even today, Sri Lanka has been saved by their top three more often than not. It's either of Kushal Mendis or Pathum Nishanka or
I mean,
whoever
it's
plays at
always
number three,
been.
either Asalanka or Dimuth.
It's been a one man show of sorts, right?
Yeah,
We've had
yeah.
only one player from the batting lineup stand up and do well. And that's the thing about, I mean, it doesn't always work. There will be a day when someone or the other, or one of these heroes won't, or all of these heroes rather, won't do well. And we saw
Hmm.
that in the first match that they played against Namibia. So they need to be very careful about this. And I feel this is where some of the batters of the modern T20 era will be challenged, because you really need to hit the ball from the sweet spot of your bat to get a six. You cannot power the ball. You can slice the ball. It's not the grounds that you see in UAE. It's not the grounds that you see in India or New Zealand. Where these, even if you power the ball through and you get a top edge, or you slice the ball, it'll go all the way. You really need to hit from the sweet spot of the bat, and that's where it's going to be very important for batsmen to take those singles and doubles. Make sure that they find the right delivery to go after and pick the gap. So it's going to be a lot important, I feel, this year around. It's not going to be easy to hit every ball, because if you try to hit three deliveries, chances are the third delivery at least you are going to sky. And we saw that West Indies, for instance, has struggled really badly in that case, because they've been hauling out a lot. I think except for Jason Holder, who played very well, who picked his deliveries, picked the gap. Everyone else is just trying to power the ball out of the ground, and that's where
Yeah.
teams like this is going to struggle. These are going to struggle.
So, I've got an interesting question here. S90 has asked that why isn't someone like David Visa not getting picked in IPL? Satyabani, would you like to answer that? Because David Visa was a part of IPL, he was part of RCB previously. He plays on the PSL, he plays almost across the world, but why doesn't he get another contract in the IPL? He looks like the perfect candidate to play in the IPL because he's an all round cricketer.
Yeah, but we have also seen that some of the other class all rounders miss out on the IPL as well, because IPL is more competitive, especially because you have only four foreign slots per team. I mean, to play in the playing 11, you have, I think, seven foreign slots overall, seven or eight. So it's very difficult to fit in, and most of the teams, with so much data available right now, most of the teams really do all the data crunching, and they have already set up their own parameters, and they have already decided on the players that they want. So it's very difficult to sort of get your place in the IPL. We have seen some world class spinners miss IPL as well, some world class foreign spinners. Tahir, Zampa, none of them were picked in this season of the IPL, even Shamsi. So
Yeah.
that's the case with IPL. Yeah, Vijay plays in PSL, Vijay plays in the UAE leagues, the T10s. He plays all across the world, and he does spectacularly well. And I think if he continues this sort of performance, if he continues this consistency, another call up in the IPL is definitely around the corners.
I mean, absolutely. But for example, We talk about David Visa, has got a prolific record across the world, and I'm pretty sure that some
I
of the
think
IPL teams also will
2022
be.
in all has been the year of comebacks. We have seen a lot of players sort of, even if you consider other teams like Wayne Parnell, like for South Africa, Wayne Parnell, Riley Russo, they were dropped from their international sides. They took a 5 6 year break, not from cricket, but they were not selected in the national side for 5 6 years, but they made a comeback. Even for India, you have Hardik Pandya, you have David Miller mounting a comeback. So there have been a lot of players making a stupendous comeback in 2022. So we might as well call this year the year of comebacks.
Absolutely. And of course, we've got Rashid asking us, West Indies are the real dark horses. I'm pretty sure he means it literally and in theory as well. They are possibly the dark horses for this World Cup. You never know with West Indies, right? They can. I don't care about anything. Why is Abel supporting Bulls? I'm not a fan of Bulls. I'll say I'm not
Why
really
are
into
you not a fan?
basketball. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Bulls. So can Hasaranga be used in the top order? Very interesting take there because Hasaranga has been a player who's done well batting for Sri Lanka in crucial situations. And why can't Sri Lanka really put him right there, as use as a pinch hitter? Jen, your thoughts on that? For Hasaranga, he's got a batting potential which has not yet come out.
Yeah, I think the simple answer for that, Nabil, is because almost all batsmen that Sri Lankan order are pinch hitters, and that's been the issue with this batting lineup. They haven't been able to, I mean, they have gotten starts, but they haven't been able to convert. Some of the batsmen obviously are doing well. Kushal Mendes is doing well. Bhanuga Rajapaksha yet to really light this World Cup on fire, but I think there's a knock somewhere around there. But if you look at the lineup, then almost anyone can come up and bat there. But the issue being then where do you fit in Pathum Nisanka, where do you fit in Kushal Mendes, or where do you fit in Charita Salanka? I mean, it's just, I think the number three spot is the biggest bother for Sri Lanka right now. And
No, but I think
Hasaranga is
Dhananjay
really
Silva,
not
he
going to
had a
be.
rare failure today, but I think he has come and taken the role uh, rightly so. Because if you're not going to play somebody like a Dinesh Chandimal, you might as well go for Dhananjay Silva at number 3 and demote Charit Asalanka at number 4. It's good to see Asalanka get some runs. At least he got that
Yeah.
37, 38 runs, and I
Mhm.
think his innings over there was very important because another wicket over there and Sri Lanka could have collapsed like they collapsed against Namibia. So it was
Absolutely.
a very crucial knock that even though it did not come at a very quick time, he eventually took a lot of time to settle in. But I think that was a very important knock because it was only because of the platform that Sri Lanka had that they could go after the bowling towards the end and get to 163. And I
Yeah, it was not
think
an easy. It was not at all an easy
Yeah.
task because Van Meeken and and Klassen, Fred Klassen were going brilliantly. It was almost like seeing test matches. It was like a test match with a white ball because the ball was seaming uh, very sharply. Sri Lanka is not accustomed to facing that kind of bowling, and
I just loved how he set up Nisanka. Two blows to the body and that perfect Yorker in the third
absolutely.
delivery.
I mean, that was just.
That
I think
was
it was
great to
class
see.
from Klassen. That's the
Yeah.
best way to
It
put it.
was. It was.
Yeah,
It was. It
and
was.
straight away, the next batsman who comes in,
I think that was Van
Dhananjay De
Vikeren.
Silva, yorked again, yorked. There was just
Yeah.
brilliant fast bowling, and Netherlands is a team which has got some really good fast bowlers out, and they've been doing well. That was the downfall of UAE as well. They unleashed the fast bowlers at them. They couldn't score at all, and the field setting was excellent from the captain as well.
Yeah.
What I've realized, what Netherlands do in the power plays, just seize the moment. You don't see that kind of power plays happen at all nowadays in modern cricket. In modern cricket, the power plays are always where fielders are standing at the edge of the 30-yard circle. Probably
Absolutely.
there are
Yeah.
some fielders who are standing outside the 30-yard circle, and then slowly walking in before the bowler balls a delivery. So they have every little chance of trying to jump one and take a catch, use the height advantage or as much as they can. But what I noticed against UAE and against Sri Lanka as well, when Netherlands were on top, what they did incredibly well, what the skipper did incredibly well, was the fielders was 15 yards in and they were not allowing anything. No one was able to knock the ball down and take those singles at all. It was just choking the batsmen as much as they can. And there was this brilliant captaincy to be seen. Obviously, the captain is very experienced.
Yeah.
And I mean
I
Scott
think
Edwards.
brilliant captaincy from Scott Edwards, not just
Scott
in the
Edwards, yes,
UAE and Sri Lanka game, but also in the Namibia game. Because if you think
correct,
of it, Netherlands have restricted their opposition to 111, 121, and 153 in this game. So they have
yeah.
been the
And
best
it's
bowling
been
unit. Yeah,
a
best bowling
chasers.
unit in the super in the group
Yeah.
stages at least.
And the World Cup has been a chaser's nightmare because 10 matches have been played, 7 matches have been won by the team batting first, which is just odd. That's the reason I think this group stage, the only way to describe it has been odd. It's been an aberration to modern cricket because you don't see this anymore. You don't see, I mean, World Cups once upon a time, the trend used to be win the toss and bat first to put a score, put the pressure on. And but the trend did reverse, but this group stage at least, teams who have batted first have won. I think I mean, there hasn't been many teams who have won chasing, so it's
Yeah, I
been
think
difficult to
that
Yeah.
chase. And even
the game that Ireland won against Scotland, I think it was thanks to that was a brilliant partnership from Dockrell and Curtis Camphor.
correct,
Especially
correct.
Curtis Camphor just took the game away, and also Dockrell hitting regular
Yeah,
boundaries
and
at
what
that.
is I mean, and what
Yeah,
is really good about that match was the fact that both Curtis Camphor and Dockrell, they did not only score big shots. What they did
yeah.
really well was they made sure the strike was being rotated. They picked some gaps which were
I think
really
that's the key
innovative.
to success in Australia. You have to
Correct,
rotate the
correct,
strike
and
because the
that
boundaries
is
are big. You can't always
yes,
expect to
yes.
hit clear those boundaries.
Absolutely.
I
And
mean,
I
yeah,
think
true.
especially in these drop-in pitches where the ball has been moving around, it's not easy to hit those big shots anymore.
And also, I think Ireland already had 1 foot out of the door, like they were almost about to exit because they had lost to Zimbabwe,
Correct.
and then they were chasing 177, and they were 62 or 63 for four at the end of 10 overs. So needing 115 to win of the last 10. That was some, and with 4 wickets down, that was a very
Yeah.
difficult task. And Curtis Camphor and George Dockler just made it seem so easy because they
Yeah.
rotated the
Hmm.
strike. They did not necessarily go for like big sixes. I think there were only 2 or 3 sixes hit in between, but they constantly hit boundaries. They were finding the gaps. They were running the twos and threes hard. So yeah, I think all in all, it was a great chase. And also in the
Absolutely. I
other
mean,
end, on the other end of it, the Zimbabwe versus West Indies game, I think Zimbabwe just let that game go because they had West Indies on the ropes. Dismissing West Indies for 152, 153 runs, I think that should have been chased down, especially after the start that Zimbabwe got. I think they were 23 at the end of 1 over 1.1 over. They were 47, 48 at the end of 5 overs, having lost just 1 wicket. And then suddenly, Jason Holder and I think it was Alzari Joseph. So 7 wickets from combined, 4 wickets from Joseph, 3 wickets from Holder. Just wickets at they lost wickets at regular intervals, and I think the
mm,
approach was not needed at that point. Sikandar Raza
absolutely.
coming in at number 6, trying to toying the ball when only 7.5, 7.6 runs were needed of the last 10 overs. That was not needed. Ryan Bird coming in and trying to slog every delivery was not needed. They could
I
have
mean, that's
sort of
also the
changed
kind of
their.
inexperience which comes to Zimbabwean team.
That's
Though
what I
we
mean.
rate them highly,
It's. I mean, yeah. Go
But
ahead. Go
but I
ahead.
mean they have a very experienced side when it comes to international cricket. The players that are playing, they have been playing for quite some time
I
now.
mean, what
Zimbabwe
I'm
have
talking
been building
about
this
is the
team for quite some time.
inexperience in these big moments, right?
Yeah, yeah,
When you
definitely.
know the finishing
Lack
line
of
is
experience in
close,
big
I mean,
tournaments.
also it's been very tough for teams to chase at under the lights in these pitches. Only one team, which is Netherlands, that won the match, and you know how difficult it was for Netherlands to win that match when they were chasing such a small score. But
Yeah.
overall, it's been very difficult for teams chasing under
hmm,
the lights in these
I mean,
pitches.
that's
And I
also
mean,
got to do with
Netherlands
the
had
weather conditions.
had brilliant
Yeah.
starts in both the games where they were chasing. They had brilliant starts from Max Sodaud and Vikram Singh, but the middle order really found it very difficult
Hmm.
under the circumstances to even
Correct.
chase
Yeah.
down 112 or 122. It went down to the last over.
Absolutely. I mean, it has to do a lot with the weather conditions, as I already mentioned.
I mean, and
But
who
this is a
knows
World Cup.
if Rizwan, the captain, UAE's captain, had taken the catch, could have been UAE going
Yeah,
through and not Netherlands.
Yeah,
So just
definitely.
true. I mean, this is a very weird World Cup start as we already
yeah,
expected. But
but
I don't
I
see,
think yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead.
no,
Go ahead.
I'm saying that it shouldn't be the case in Super 12s at least because a lot more experienced teams playing in these conditions, they should be able to manage it. And that's where the skill set will also come into play. You have better batters batting in Super 12s. As I already saw in the matches in Gaba and whatever was played in Optes as well, the pitches were good over there. As you mentioned, drop in pitches can be an issue. because of the fact that you do not know how they're going to behave. Some pitches might
Yeah.
slightly hold, some pitches seems around quite a bit, and it also has to do a lot with the weather conditions, because this is the first ever time in Australia you're going to be having a World Cup in October, and October is the coldest time in Australia. As we already have a question as to whether India versus Pakistan match will happen. No, whatever has been predictions which has come out is that the weather conditions are pretty bad. 80% of chance of rain is what is predicted. At least in Melbourne cricket ground, 40% it is right now. The rain, the chances of rain. At least we can expect a rain curtail match, if not no game at all. That's going to be the worst possible scenario to start the World
And
Cup
I
for
think you'll
both
have
India and
riots
Pakistan.
outside the stadium if there is no game on 23rd. Yeah,
Yeah, ICC is
I
gonna
mean,
lose a lot of
these
money.
are. I mean, you are going to lose a
definitely.
lot of money. I think it's going to take at least a year for ICC to reimburse everybody the kind of money. I think people are traveling from all across the world to go and watch the
I
match
think
in
if
Melbourne.
23 is washed out, I think they'll have the India versus Pakistan next Sunday on 30th of October.
I don't think that's happening. So it is what it is. You have to accept it's a washout. It is a washout. But at the same time, I don't see it being a washout, because of the very reason that in Melbourne Cricket Stadium, the weather conditions, as we speak, the weather conditions are improving. The chance of rain 1 week ago was 100%. It has come down to 80. Now it's 40. At least on the day of the game, if you
Yeah.
have 20% chance of rain, means it'll be scattered showers. You'll have rain hampering you even a little bit, but not a lot, which will hamper the result of the game. But if it's a
Yeah.
rain scattered game, then the teams have to think again. The strategies have to be remade. In that case, are you going to be playing a 6 over game, a 10 over game, a 15 over game? We don't know. So then it becomes a
Win
very
the
even
toss,
playing
field
field.
first.
Yeah, then it becomes win the toss field first kind of a scenario, and you do not know what's going to take place from there on. That's what it is, right? In this World Cup, it's been a very odd World Cup start of it. I think New Zealand versus Australia will be the team. Hi, our students, Devraj here, when CCL. I think CCL will take place very soon, as and when the time comes. Hi, Aisha says. Uh, will World Cup be more balanced with bat and ball? As Jaren, you were already talking about it. What is the chance of this World Cup being a World Cup as we did not predict, because we all predicted 180, 190 to be par. How about this World Cup being a 175 par with ballers being in the game a lot more, Jared?
I think it's about playing. It's going to be about playing a lot smarter. You know, it's not going to be as simple as It's not going to be just as harsh on ballers as maybe it has been in the previous few times, because as Abel has mentioned, the weather conditions are very different to what we are used to in Australia. It's not. It's not going to be very. It's not going to be a straight road for batsmen. It's not going to be easy to hit those shots all the time. I think somewhere, someplace, batsmen have to pick the deliveries. As I've been saying again and again, the deliveries that they really want to hit, and they'll have to really put their bat to ball, as they say, and send it as far as they want to. Because otherwise, you can't you can't really be hoping that half measures will help you get sixes anymore. You'll have to play a lot more gaps. And that's the reason why a lot of players who've got a repertoire of shots, like someone like Suryakumar Yadav, is gonna probably enjoy this World Cup a lot more than some of the others who are like one dimensional, just will be toying the ball every single delivery they're going to try and hit. And we've seen that whenever batsmen have tried to just go helter skelter, it's been difficult. A lot of wickets have fallen. So in that sense, yes. But then it's going to be what I'm again trying to say is, all the matches are not going to be played in these two grounds. After the Super 12 begins, then not many matches are played in these grounds, and also matches that are going to be played on these grounds are still between nations like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, the teams that are still qualifying. So maybe in someplace, ICC is kind of schemed against these teams and given them the more, because these teams are not come. There are not many data available on how to play on these pitches. Maybe, for example, Sydney Cricket Ground has got a long history, so teams have a large chunk of data. They know how to play exactly on those pitches. But how do you play on pitches like Bellerive Oval or Kadrina Park, where there's not much, history of how they're going to behave? Then again, we've not played many matches in October, so I would just say buckle your seatbelts, because this World Cup is going to be none like what you have seen before.
And absolutely, and we've got a question
And also,
already
I
asking
think
out.
fielding is going to be a big factor in the game in these World Cup, especially because of the
Yeah,
bigger
Yeah, yeah.
grounds. So
and also
outfielding
because of
catches
wind,
needs to be
right?
taken.
And the
So I
wind is
think
also a
overall,
factor.
the fitness, running between the wickets and running the ground fielding, is not just the catches, the ground fielding, and also I think seeing this World Cup, I mean the group stage, lot of fielding coaches will be giving high catching drills to their fielders.
Yeah.
because you don't want to be slipping catches. And I
And
think
also, I'm very happy, or you can say very impressed by the fact that some of the minnow nations like, or the associate nations like Scotland, Namibia, Netherlands, they have usually been
yeah,
so good in the outfield,
Netherlands
both
been
with their ground
brilliant.
fielding as well as their high catches.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Netherlands has
that's
been
that's one of
brilliant. I
the
think.
most
So
impressive
has
part about
Scotland. I
this
think
World
I have
Cup.
been most impressed by Scotland.
I mean, that's where these big teams will have to step up. For example, India, Pakistan. These teams have had
Pakistan,
an issue with.
especially the match against England, Pakistan made a lot of mistakes.
I mean, that
Because
was
that was just
schoolboy errors,
embarrassing.
schoolboy
It was
stuff.
getting really embarrassing once upon a time.
Yeah,
I think it was
it was a
Haider
very
Ali.
semi-professional
It was
level of
Haider
cricket
Ali
what
who
was
kept
played.
getting caught. He
Yeah,
missed a free catch, then he missed a misfield, then again a catch. It's just
not just Heather Ali. There
not a
were
good
two other
day.
fielders. There
Not
was
just him,
Hasnain.
but it was just a
Hasnain
terrible
was
day
bad. At
in particular for him. So
Yeah,
Pakistan
yeah.
Yeah,
really need to step up.
Heather Ali would have just preferred to go out of the field
I
and
mean,
Yeah, I think there was this one time I felt like Heather
to,
Ali would just be replaced for the sake of not giving any more runs to
I
India.
mean, to be very honest, there's a reason why Pakistan haven't done well in Australia. If you look at Pakistan's record in Australia, they won zero T20 internationals in Australia. Can you believe it? And that's also
Oh,
because of the fact that they've done poorly on the field. Historically, in Australia, Pakistan have fielded very badly. It's also because the fitness of covering the ground, right? In other
hmm.
grounds across the world, you don't have to do a lot of ground fielding by covering the ground, cutting off the twos. But in Australia, you have to cover a lot more ground to cut off the twos, and you'll have to really be smart while playing, especially while
Yeah,
batting, convert the twos into threes, because there's the only place in the world where you have to convert twos into threes, because in T20 games you barely see threes these days, but in Australia you will see threes, and that's where Pakistan will have to be really on their A game and take those catches. If Pakistan are going to falter in these big occasions, they'll be faltering in the World Cup as well. So as whatever I've seen of Pakistan, and for India, there were some moments of brilliance from Virat Kohli, but other than that, India
exactly.
also will have
Almost
to really
like
step.
yeah, yeah,
Jadeja
yeah.
coming on wearing a
I have
number
not
18
been
jersey when Virat Kohli fielded that day.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So other than that moment of brilliance, India also will have to really improve their
Yeah,
fielding
yeah.
because their
India will
recent
have
record
to
has been.
definitely pull up their socks because I think they have been pretty ordinary on the field in the last couple of months.
And I
Especially in the
also
absence of
think
Jadeja
fielding coach
and
will have to do a lot with it. The new fielding
yeah.
coach, I'm not really impressed with it. Uh, because when we had Sridhar as a part of fielding coach, I think Indian team was doing at least much better than what we were doing right now. I think the new fielding coach will have to really put up his drills, give more time and effort for these fielders, make them feel much more comfortable to take these catches under pressure. You don't want to be making silly errors, especially in a World Cup, because as long as you do your basics right, you can't really have the uncontrollables, right? Whatever is going to happen on that day is going to happen, but at least do your basics right. At least you execute the ball or to do the fielding is one of the most important facets of T20 cricket at this point. Sri Lanka won an Asia Cup because of that. We've got an interesting question from SS98. Should India play out Shaheen in the power play, or should they take this new template of going after him? Jen, your thoughts on it's a very interesting take because Shaheen has looked in good rhythm so far since his return. His ball that Yorker to Gurbaz, he looked in very
Yeah.
good form there. And if the ball is nipping around slightly, because we've got another question from Rudra as well. So I think you can answer it in combination. As a lot of teams are coming into this World Cup with an intent, right? They've taken this new template. India, England, Australia, they all want to play this modern way of playing cricket where they want to attack from ball one. But now what we're seeing of the wickets is the ball is moving around quite a bit. You are in with a chance of losing a lot of wickets in the power play. So will teams take a different approach in this World Cup, saying that if the ball is moving around slightly, let's take a little bit of time, play out the power play, play out this bowler, then put our pedal on the accelerator?
Yeah, I think I'll be a bit more traditionalist in this sense. Of course, if the ball is moving around, if the bowler is doing well, you have to respect the bowler. If you don't respect, at least if you don't respect the bowler, respect the ball. Because if you don't respect the ball, then it's really gonna set your demise. I mean, we saw that in the first match where Sri Lanka played Namibia, and when Namibia bowlers were bowling the right lengths, with bowling very good, very bowling testing lengths, Sri Lankan batsmen tried to bulldoze and bully them into oblivion, and that's exactly where Sri Lankan batsmen fell off. I mean, fell off the rails. We saw the same thing happen with West Indies as well. So this is where you need to, really be careful when the ball is doing a bit. You need to respect the bowler. But having said that, you need to make sure you're not defensive. There's a difference between really getting into your shell and playing the ball, because when someone balls a good line delivery, it's seaming around a bit. You need to respect the deliveries. You need to know that runs are not going to be easy to get, but at the same time, you need to be, singles and doubles, very important in those stages. If the ball is doing a bit, try and make sure, you don't stagnate the scoring. Make sure you're able to get this scoreboard ticking, because chances will come. No one is going to serve up 6 out of 6 good, I mean, good deliveries. At least if not the seventh or the eighth delivery will be a wide delivery where the bowler tries to take wickets, because 24 balls for a bowler is looking to attack as well. And when that happens, sometimes there will be a delivery which, you might just get it in the middle of the bat and then suddenly throw the bowler off. So that is something that you have to look for. But having said that, yes, if Shaheen Afridi is bowling really well, I feel what Indian batsmen will do is tend to, play, not if not play him out, at least score 5 to 6 runs off him, not attack him as much. But it also depends if India is chasing or opening, right? I think if India is going to bat first, then India will look to attack a lot more than if they're chasing. If they're chasing, I think India will be a lot more calculated.
I mean,
They'll
this
know
will be
what
one of the
is.
World Cups where you are not sure of what to choose after winning the toss. You're a little
Yeah,
confused. You'd
yeah.
rather
But I
lose
think
the
the first
toss
match
than
is
win
in
it.
Sydney Cricket Ground, where they'll be a bit more comfortable. Sydney Cricket Ground, I don't think is going to behave this erratically. So I think you might see a lot more high scoring game. But if the weather conditions stay, then you might see the game change. But if not,
Yeah.
if the typical Australian weather conditions, where there's not much of a breeze and the ball isn't moving as much, then I think Sydney is not going to offer a lot off the pitch. But if there is going to be rain in the air, then yeah,
Yeah.
Shaheen Afridi is going to be
But
not only
I
Shaheen
mean,
Afridi. I think Pakistan
yeah.
is going to have slightly an upper hand. But having said that, we also have Bhuvneshwar Kumar, so it's going to be
I mean, yeah.
interesting.
I mean, I don't know about Sydney, but in Melbourne, at least, I expect the ball to move around quite a bit. At least in the opening burst, I've seen Bhuvneshwar Kumar do it in the 2018 series, where he traveled to Australia, where he was troubling Aaron Finch every time he
Yeah.
used to ball to him. So I think Bhuvneshwar Kumar will be a vital cog for the Indian team to pick up wickets up front. And also, you've got Mohammad Shami. And if Mohammad Shami starts, he can also be a dangerous customer. He's someone who
Hmm.
lands the ball on the seam, and if there's any bit of seam movement, and if there is no seam movement at all, if someone who can extract something out of the pitch, it is Mohammad Shami, because he lands the ball perfectly on the seam. Sunny Bhai, now coming to you, we've often spoken about how important it is to get that start for the World Cup, and now we're going to have New Zealand versus Australia, which will be taking place day after tomorrow. How important it is for these teams to assess or to go in with a framework of thumb their authority. For New Zealand, it's a different start. They've lost a warm-up game already. Not the favorites leading into this World Cup. Not even the dark horse. People are already written them off. People are saying Sri Lanka will finish on top of New Zealand in this World Cup. How much do you give New Zealand a chance in this World Cup?
I think it's a exciting team, and some of the young batsmen are very aggressive. They are they have a very attacking mindset, and I think New Zealand is going to pose a threat, especially because they have the experience in their bowling department in the form of Saudi Bolt, and then they also have they have Bracewell, who has been in a spectacular run of form leading up to this World Cup, both with bat and ball. I think he averages less than 10 in T20 internationals. He has picked up 17 wickets in 11 games at an average of less than 10, if I'm not wrong. So there is Bracewell, and he has done the job with the bat as well whenever the team has needed it. Glenn Phillips has been in great form. He averages close to 50 in 2022 in T20 internationals in 2022. He has been New Zealand's leading run scorer. You have Sodhi, who has been New Zealand's leading wicket taker in T20Is this year. So there's a lot of players, impactful players, X factor players who can do the job for the team. They just need their experienced players to come good for them when they need, because we have seen Kane Williamson, Tim Southey do the job for the team when it matters the most, and I expect them to come good. And also players like Devon Conway, they have been in the circuit for more than a couple of years now, and I think he has the potential to sort of play the anchors knock in that New Zealand batting order, because you have
Absolutely.
players like Mitchell, Glenn Phillips, Jimmy Nisham, who are just going to come in and go after the bowling,
Yeah.
even for that matter Bracewell. So I
Mm.
think it's a good team. You can't write them off. And you might expect one or two surprises. They can go on to beat either of England or Australia. I don't think
Yeah.
they are going into the Australian game as much of a favorites. They will not go to the England game as favorites, but I expect them to spring a surprise against England rather than Australia.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting if they can get one win out of them, at least against one of these oppositions. That also puts them in a better stead of going into the semi-final. But before we end the live, Jalen, your thoughts? Tomorrow is a big game. Can there be any big upsets now going ahead? Can West Indies not make it at all, or
What will
even
be
if
the
West
upset?
Indies?
I just have to ask which one will be upset. Do you think I think it's Zimbabwe versus no, no, it's West Indies versus Ireland and Zimbabwe versus Scotland. Who are the favorites and who are the underdogs?
I think West Indies starts as favorites anyway. A two-time
I
Against
world
mean,
Ireland,
champion.
to be
I
very
think
honest,
it's
this is one. I think this is a group where I think Evil's at the start of the live said it perfectly. Teams have been just very kind to each other. Everyone has won. I mean, has played two matches. Everyone has won one.
Yeah,
So it's not, to be very honest. It just depends on who turns up tomorrow. But having said that, I think tomorrow we have Scotland versus Zimbabwe. I feel somewhere. I think if I think Ireland's bowling isn't as I think Ireland's bowling might not test New Zealand as much as I think Scotland might. I think Scotland has a little much of a bit of an upper hand against Zimbabwe, and the reason I say that because I think Scotland has got a little bit more experience of sorts, and they are a team which looks to be settled. On the other hand, I feel Ireland might just lose the plot tomorrow, but that's a very difficult prediction to make. And I have another voice in my head which is saying it could be the reverse. So, and you know what the best part is, right? It could be possible that tomorrow is a double upset. And
yeah. I
both
mean,
these
that's
test
gonna be
playing nations are out of the World Cup.
that's
That
gonna
might
be the
even
most
happen.
interesting one, and
Yeah,
which
and I
means
think what has
are
really
the
gone against West Indies is the fact that they've ended up in these qualifiers, because I don't think West Indies are really equipped to play the kind of pitches that have been produced. Also, the reason I think tomorrow Zimbabwe might struggle is because Zimbabwe is playing the evening match, if I'm
hmm,
not wrong, right?
yeah,
Zimbabwe is playing the evening match, and I've noticed that the evening matches have been a lot tougher to bat in,
yeah.
especially under the lights. So if Zimbabwe lose the toss and they have to chase, they're going to be really under the pump
I mean, that's what
against this
happened against West
quality.
Indies as well. For them, it
Yeah,
has not
and
happened so easy.
the five matches which have been played under the lights, only one team chasing has won, and that is
That's
Netherlands.
Netherlands, and they were
Netherlands
chasing this
is the one that won,
112.
which was so close. Could have
Yeah,
gone either way.
and they were just chasing
So,
112.
so I
So
think that's
that's
the reason why. But having said that, overall, I think I have a feeling that Netherlands might win against Bangladesh in their group, and
I
this is
mean,
probably
that
an upset which
Netherlands.
is brewing, because
Yeah,
Bangladesh is
yeah.
going
I
to
think
struggle
Netherlands
against
will
those.
pose a
And you know
strong threat
why I
against
say that? I
Pakistan.
say that because Bangladesh are going to be playing Netherlands in Belarive, and Netherlands have played in Belarive. They know the pitch there. Bangladesh has not played a match yet in Belarive. They're going to be in for a
yeah.
rude surprise.
I mean, I
If
also think if West Indies or any of the team qualifies into the group, also Netherlands have got a chance there. Even Netherlands with the West Indies, if West Indies go on to qualify tomorrow, I think Netherlands will have a better chance.
Yeah,
See,
I mean, so
to end
having
it.
playing in Bellary for the first time, Bangladesh might really struggle to see that. No, and if Klaassen and Van Meeken just begins their spell with the kind of bowling that they've shown, I don't think Bangladesh have the quality, except for Shakib Al Hasan, to really counter that. So they're gonna struggle,
Hmm.
and I won't be surprised if they lose.
Definitely.
I mean, Aisha has asked a question, who's going to be the leading wicket taker in this T20 World Cup? A lot of options are there. I think Harris Roth is one name which comes on top of the mind. He's got ability to pick up wickets, especially he's found a mojo. I'm very tempted to say Shaheen Shah Afridi, but then no. I'd say Harris Roth is one. And I think another player who I'm really eager to watch out for is Yuzvendra Chahal. If he is India's number one choice spinner, I'm expecting him to have a good World Cup alongside someone from England as well. If Chris Wokes go on to play the World Cup, I think he's going to be amongst the wickets in this T20
And
World
I
Cup.
think with Reece Topley getting injured and being out, I think Chris Wokes will make it to the playing 11 in all the
Oh,
games,
I mean, I
especially the
believe
way he
Harun
started.
Rashid will be the more happier one because now there's no one taking his place.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
No, I just wanted to talk about my prediction as well for tomorrow. I think I'll end it on a very logical prediction. Since
Hmm.
in Group A, Sri Lanka lost the first game and made it through. Namibia won the first game, did not make it through. So I predict tomorrow West Indies is going to defeat Ireland and make it through. And since West Indies was beaten by Scotland in the first game, they are
That
going
is
to lose
very
against Zimbabwe.
illogical, man. That's the most
that's the most
super
superstitious.
predictions I've ever seen.
No,
Because
but
I thought
that
he's
will
going to
come
speak
true.
on
That will
Everybody
stats.
come
is
true.
I think Sandeep started in perfect con man fashion. Like I
Yeah,
have
it's
the
like
slides
I
behind me.
expected he's gonna bring some data. He's gonna break down
I
why
thought
this is.
Sandeep is gonna come in, crunch numbers, tell us something that
Yeah,
we haven't seen.
No,
but
I
I
see
also personally feel,
numbers and everything will work up
But
till some point, and
I
at
mean,
the end of the day, this is what is going to work for you.
this is
but you know
precisely
what?
the
You know what?
prediction
I
I've
really
done as
think
well.
Ireland
Even
will
though,
start on level playing
yeah,
ground with West Indies for a lot of reasons. Because Ireland, I know they lost that first game against Zimbabwe, and it's not been easy for any team season. But for Ireland, the good thing is that they've won another game chasing. They've been in good form. Curtis Campbell have been in good form, and also that
Not
is
just
one
Curtis
thing.
Camphor, I think Harry Tector, there
Harry
is
Tech to
George
Josh
Russell in the
Lay.
middle order. The middle order has looked very
I
settled.
think
And
that,
also you have somebody
mm,
like a Paul Sterling and Andrew Balburney opening the innings for you. So
yeah,
great stability up front. You have a very balanced middle order. So it's just that they have to do the job with the ball.
yeah,
They can't let West Indies run away with the game with the bat.
yeah,
I
absolutely. I
mean,
mean,
also
so
I think because West Indies are going to play the first match, the opening match, where batting seems a lot more easier
mm,
Yeah,
compared to Zimbabwe. Is the reason why I think West Indies will make it through, and I don't think Irish bowlers
definitely.
are going to trouble West Indies as much as Zimbabwean
Also with
bowlers or
yeah.
Scottish
Charles
bowlers
coming
because
into the lineup in the second game, scoring that 46, he was run out by a very unfortunate sort of an incident. He slipped, and then there was poor calling from Robman Powell. So I
yeah.
think Charles, before getting run out, he scored 46, and I think he looked good in the middle. And with Charles and Kyle Myers opening and Evan Lewis coming in at number 3, I think this is a more sorted sort of lineup than what we saw in the first game. Also, I don't see Brooks playing in that playing 11 for West Indies. I think definitely they can come up with a better number 6 player than Brooks.
I mean,
But
for West Indies, it's
yeah,
about staying, keeping calm as possible tomorrow. I know they've got the team on paper, at least talent-wise. You expect West Indies to go through, but then Ireland have been not bad at all. So for Ireland, it's going to be about if Ireland can restrict, or if Ireland can bat first and put a score of 150 to 160. I think they're
Yeah.
going to put West Indies under tremendous pressure. That's where
but I
West Indies is
think
going to
West
come
Indies
under pressure.
has the more balanced side when it comes to Ireland. I mean, Ireland, they have their batting strength, and they have all these all rounders doing the job with the ball as well. I mean, Curtis Camphor. I think one player, one bowler from Ireland that has really impressed me is Mark Adder. The way he
Yeah.
bowled that last over against Scotland restricted them. I think he considered just 6 runs in that last over. That allowed sort of Scotland to be restricted under 180. At least some sort of psychological advantage going into the first innings break. So yeah, I think very impressed by him. Also, Joshua Little has picked up a lot of wickets for Ireland in the recent times. But still, I think West Indies has the more balanced squad. They have proper bowlers this time. All this while you expect West Indies to come up with all rounders. But when you think about all rounders, they just have Jason Holder, and probably Akil Hussain can do a bit of it. Odin Smith surprisingly has been demoted down the order. He comes to bat at number 9, which is really surprising for me. I think he has been focusing on his bowling for quite some time now. That probably will be the only reason why he comes down like below
I mean,
Akil
I
Hussain in that
think
batting
it's
order.
for me he's a better fitted number 9 because I really don't see him as a specialist batsman. I
No,
think
I don't see him as a
he is someone
specialist batsman, but I at
who's
least
got a
expect
long
him to come in at
handle.
number 7 and 8 and slog when the team needs it.
Yeah, so I think
He's a
he isn't a
brilliant
number
power hitter.
7 or a number 6 batsman. I think he's more of a number 8, number 9 batsman for me at
Yeah,
least.
but if you consider his T10 stats, I think he has the highest strike rate in T10s
Yeah,
after
so we're gonna
a
give him
certain point of time. He just strikes
less
the balls
amount
so
of
well.
balls. We're gonna give him as less balls to face so that he has a clear mind that he just goes
Yeah,
after bowling. And I think
but you
Yeah,
know
but
what?
definitely not number 9. According to me, I think he should come after the
Odin
15th or
Smith,
16th over whenever
Odin
they
Smith is
lose
a
a wicket.
very good batter, but if he's utilized in the right position, and for West Indies, it's about utilizing him. Also with the ball, he's not been the best of forms. Though he's had those moments of brilliance where he comes out and
I
picks up a
think
couple of wickets.
he's the weakest link in that West Indian bowling lineup. With no offense to Odin Smith, we have been very critical about him right from IPL. Especially, I have been very critical about Odin Smith right from the IPL when he was not able to defend some 17, 18 runs against for Punjab Kings. I think right from then I have been very critical about him. But to be fair to him, I think he does bowl some of those critical overs, especially in the death. So you expect them to go for runs, but also on the flip side, you can pick up a lot of wickets as well. But
Absolutely.
they have Alzari Joseph, Jason Holder bowling very well in tandem.
Yeah.
And to add to that, you also have somebody like Akil Hussain coming in the power plays, restricting the run flow. So I absolutely
Absolutely.
don't see them struggling against Ireland. I mean, it is going to be a close contest. They are still the slight favorites, and I expect West Indies to show their class. They are two-time champions. They will come out of it on top. And also in the Zimbabwe versus Scotland game, I think Scotland got a bit lucky on the first game because West Indies was just trying to hit all the deliveries out of the park, and they really underestimate the Scotland bowling and fielding. I mean, they were spectacular on the field. And also some of the experienced bowlers, like what you can't Mark Watt has been in the business for quite some time. He has played T20 cricket in the England circuit as well. So you can't sort of underestimate players like that. If you want to if you sort of want to take them on and sort of attack them every delivery, mistakes are bound to happen. You are eventually going to get out, and
Yeah.
chasing 156 was never easy under lights. So definitely, I feel that Scotland were a bit lucky on that front.
Hmm.
Zimbabwe are not going to take them lightly, and with the team Zimbabwe has right now, I am very impressed with this Zimbabwean side. I see them going through to the. I
I
I
think
mean,
mean,
they'll
I
be
think
absolutely.
all of
the
it will
second year.
come down to the toss. If whoever is chasing is going to be up against it,
I mean, I don't
regardless.
really see, the toss are not a factor in this World Cup at least. It's about, calculating your chases to perfection, and a lot of
Yeah,
teams have
yeah, they
made
can't
mistakes.
be. We can't see the Zimbabwean team that came down to chase 154 against West Indies because they had the start. They just were careless. They gave wickets away. They were
Exactly.
going after the bowling. You have to be a bit calculative, and I think
You have to
they'll,
be calculated.
learn from their mistakes.
I mean, that's what this World Cup is all about. You have to be smart with the decision making more than anything. In all aspects, not just in terms of chase. In
Yeah.
all aspects, you should be smart with decision making. I think this World Cup is going to be decided on who plays smarter cricket rather than playing the best cricket. You might be very impressive on the field, but if you're not smart enough in terms of decision making, it can backfire. Before we end, let's take a couple of questions. Mr. Rob Key is back again. He says Captain Mujamba is going to do voodoo for Zimbabwe. I hope there's some bit of luck which goes Zimbabweans' way. If it's through voodoo, well and good. Talk about Kerala and SMAT. I think we should have an episode on SMAT before the finals at least. I think we'll
Yeah.
come back to talk about Said
Or at
Mustaqil
least probably we'll
Trophy.
have a review of Smart before,
Yeah, yeah.
we should definitely have a review. But
We should
it's been
talk about the
interesting.
performer.
Some of the
It's been very
players, Kerala, I mean, I've been very impressed with Kerala.
yeah,
They really started off well, but then slight, two knocks. It was against Maharashtra and services. But it's going to be interesting to see how Kerala progresses because they are tied with Haryana right now, 16 each. So I hope Kerala really goes through because very close to my heart, Kerala, and I want them to do well. They're shaping up to be a very good domestic team as well over the
yeah.
past few years.
I mean, they've got so Sanju Samson is back leading them, so it's a little bit of confidence. And for Maharashtra, I mean, we see a lot of centuries. For example, Ruturaj Gaikwad is keeping in
Yeah,
this edition's Sahil Mustaqil Trophy. That's a new edition for Chennai Super
it's a
Kings
very
to
good
look
thing
into.
for a CSK fan because maybe who knows,
Yeah,
Dhoni is
I
very
think,
close to his last few
yeah,
years.
I think
Maybe.
they're trying to
Also,
groom.
Bengal are topping their group.
Yeah, Bengal has had a very good start. They went on to defeat Tamil Nadu. Shahbaz Ahmed has been in great form. I think Bengal is another team who's done exceedingly well in domestic circuit. So I think Saeed
Correct.
Mustaqil Trophy will be a exciting review. I think we should talk about Saeed
We can do
Mustaqil
a
Trophy.
group wise. We can do a group wise review. There are we can
I think we'll
cover
have
each
a
group in one of
I
the
think we'll have
lives.
a knockout review or something like that. We'll come out with something like that which will excite a lot of domestic fans. I think we should talk about domestic cricket as much as we
Also,
love
I
to talk about
mean, if
international.
you are an IPL fan, also because this tournament plays a huge role when it comes to auctions and team selections and whatnot. So, and also, this is a place where they're trying out. This is also a tournament where they're trying out the substitution scenario as well,
Yeah,
which from what I hear is a
which
Mm.
success.
is working greatly.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
So
this will
it,
again get implemented quite soon. The
it's a very
substitution.
unique, smart format this year around. So very
Yeah.
interesting.
Aisha asks, is Sri Lanka in England's group?
Yeah,
Yes, Sri Lanka is in England's group,
I
and
think we
that's
should
where
just
it's going to be.
update on that once, right?
Yeah, I think tomorrow we'll be
we'll
displaying
update it
all the
tomorrow
group.
after the.
Tomorrow after the last game, we'll be showing out the groups and how it is going to stand like and which team is going to play whom. Tilak Verma will play for India. I think it's too early for him to play for India. I know he's got a couple of really good games, but still way too
But
early. I
I'll
think he's
not
a
put it
great
beyond.
prospect.
I'll not put it beyond the selectors. I think another great season for the IPL. This IPL is going to be very important for
And
Tilak Verma.
there
Another
are two
England to show, and
teams.
you get the nod.
Yeah, and there are two teams that are playing for India right now. So He isn't far away. I mean, at least the
Yeah.
second team, Team B, he isn't far away.
I mean, he can ball as well, so that's an addition. So that's a value-added cricketer yet again. I'm not sure which format he'll play. Definitely one-day format is what I'm looking at.
Yeah,
In
I think
T20
ODI.
format,
ODI is more suited for players like Tilak
Tilak
Verma,
Verma. I mean, he's very
Rahul
young,
Tripathi.
very raw. On the other hand, for Arjun Tendulkar, he's had a very good size Musakil trophy. He's picked up 4 wickets for Goa. I think General will be very happy with this performance in Goan
I mean,
colours.
I'm more of a Kerala guy than
I
Goa.
think Arjun Tendulkar could have shifted to Goa 3 years back. I think it would have sort of been a boost to his
I mean, I'd like
career
to
than
ask
what it
Jaren. I
was
mean, what is cricket
being
like
done.
in Goa, and how is the system like? I mean, you can explain better.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be very honest. I haven't been much involved with cricket in Goa, but one thing for sure, cricket in Goa is really picked up. I know football is the topmost, and everywhere, anywhere you go, just as you see, in other states when it comes to cricket, you'll see anyone anywhere playing football, and cricket is very rare. But that being
Yeah.
said, there are some really good clubs. I think there's a Gymkhana system that works there still. Much like Mumbai, the Gymkhana system is very prevalent there. That's where teams come up with. School cricket isn't as big. I mean, that's what. And there's also this. There's also GCL, which is Goa corporately, where a lot of
Hmm.
talents are mined. So cricket is in a very exciting stage in Goa,
But
but a
also,
long
but
way to
also
go.
players who are not who think that their career is in danger in Mumbai also shift to Goa.
Yeah, that's another thing that Goa has done. So they've started, getting players from other states, which is something that we've seen also, right? We've seen this
Yeah,
trend
yeah,
of
it's
sorts,
it's pretty common
and
in
that's
India.
kind
Yeah.
of helped even the domestic leagues a lot more because we saw Robin Uthappa, for instance, come to Kerala. That has helped a lot for that's been a big help for Kerala. So this has been a trend where teams now, players who feel like they aren't in reckoning for their home state, are
Yeah.
shifting courses. We saw, Sarfaraz Khan do it to a great extent, where his
Hmm.
career kind of turned around after that. So
Yeah.
this is something that is a trend, and I think
Definitely.
somewhere, someplace, the domestic alliance is shifting. We are kind of moving towards a county system, or I think more of a county system, where teams and
Hey, it's
players
it's
aren't
it's a
because of
county
where they are
system at the
born.
end of the day because we have seen a lot of drafts and a lot of players shifting their
Yeah,
base
yeah, yeah.
and then
We,
playing
we
for a
are going.
different team.
We're moving away from the state allegiance and
Yeah,
rather to the
definitely.
player who wants to make his career, whichever team gives him
Yeah.
chances.
I mean, that's
And
good.
which
That's
is
very
which is
good.
good, I feel, because states like Kerala, for instance, Goa, for instance, Haryana, for instance, start doing well,
Hmm.
which is a good thing for Indian cricket.
Yeah, true. I mean,
Definitely.
this match has been very interesting for players like Tilak Verma as well, and for someone like Ruturaj Gaikwad, and for Arjun Tendulkar. For example, Tilak Verma has been a leading run scorer of this match, and I think Kerala won't make it to the next round if I'm not wrong. I think they're almost knocked out because Karnataka is also in the group and they've already got 20
No,
points.
Karnataka,
I
I
think
think, almost is done with theirs because they're 20 points, but Haryana and Kerala and services are tied right now.
I think
So either of
no,
them.
Haryana is also on 20 points right now from what I'm
16
seeing in
is
the
it? I mean,
system.
I'm
No,
seeing 16 here.
I'm seeing 20 here, so I'm not sure.
I think we'll clarify that and come back to you
No,
next.
Haryana is on 20.
Is
Haryana is on
it?
20 points. Yeah, I think
All
Kerala are
right.
out in that case.
Yeah, I
But
think if
yeah,
that's the case, then yeah, Kerala are
I
out.
think only one team qualifies from every group because
Oh, is it? Oh,
uh,
then
yeah,
then I think it's already settled.
it's already
It's
said. So
almost settled.
tomorrow's Karnataka versus Haryana
But
game
there
is
are
going to
five
be,
groups, right?
yeah. I think then two best second place team, something like that,
Yeah,
qualifies
yeah, yeah. They
as well.
they,
So
they somehow make it eight.
yeah, it's weird. It's weird. So it's really tough. It's also lucky to
We'll
best
we'll will
second place.
come we'll come on a live and we'll talk about
We'll
it. We'll
discuss, we'll
go
explain
through it.
everything.
We'll come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
I think once the knockouts are set, we'll be able to come and talk. I think it's a very interesting topic to talk about. Sajid Musakil Trophy always excites you because a lot of Indian youngsters to watch out over the years. So having said that, we'll end the live right here. Thank you all for joining. If you haven't already liked our video, like the video, subscribe to our channel, and also download our app. From today, we are launching the all new feature, which is a predictor feature on all Boomer 11 apps. So you can go out there, predict the scores, how many wickets this particular player will pick, and you can win prizes, cash vouchers, cash backs, a lot more, and coins as well on the app. So this is your opportunity. Do not miss out. If you do not want to make a fantasy team, go out there, predict, and it's the easiest thing to do. Just click off the button, test your knowledge, and win prize of absolute free of cost. And thank you guys. Good night. We'll be back from tomorrow for the Super 12 review and preview.
Definitely. Good night, guys.